Okay, ji. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Gentlemen, my dear student, this is your 12th lecture, and it is 12th week lecture, and a very important topic we have to start today, and that is circuit breaker. Up till now, we have discussed different method of protections, right from the initial protection terminology, and then of course to the overcurrent protection, distance protection, differential protection, pilot protection. And then, of course, we have also covered the equipment protection, that is the transformer protection, as well as the generator protection. Okay. Now, circuit breaker. Circuit breaker is a very important component of the protection system. Actually, this is the instrument which actually break the circuit. Uh, the protection system is only energize the trip circuit. By virtue of that particular trip circuit, the circuit breaker is open. Gentlemen, it is just like a switch. That when you open the switch, the supply is cut off. When the switch is closed, the supply is there. Similarly, this is the function of the circuit breaker, but a switch can be opened and closed manually. But the circuit breakers automatically open its contact when fault occurs. When it gets a signal that there is a fault on the system, so the circuit breakers open its contact automatically. And then of course that could be manually closed when the fault is cleared to restore the supply. Okay. Now the function of circuit breaker, as you see on your screen, is to isolate the faulty part of the power system in case of abnormal condition. Its function is only during abnormal condition. Even it can be opened manually or when we have some maintenance works to perform on the system. So we have to open it manually. But the actual function is it's isolate the faulty part of the system automatically. Now the second point in this is a protective relay detect abnormal condition and send a trip signal to the circuit breaker. After receiving the tripping command from the relay, the circuit breaker isolate faulty part of the power system. So this is the main function of the circuit breaker, right? Now, circuit breaker has two contacts. Number one, fixed contact, and number two, moving contact. Under normal condition, the two contacts remain in close position. When the circuit breaker is required to isolate the faulty part, the moving contacts moves to interrupt the circuit. On the separation of the contact, the flow of current is interrupted, resulting in the formation of arc between the contact. Now, gentlemen, it is a normal phenomena that when you interrupt a current, an arc is produced. You might have detected even a normal switch which interrupt a current of zero point 0.5 or zero point 0.6 ampere or even 1 ampere. In some cases, an arc is produced. Gentlemen, what is arc? Arc is a continuation of current. It is a resistive part for the current. Unless and until the arc is extinguished, the currents continue to flow. Okay. Therefore, whenever the contacts of the circuit breakers are open, a lot of heat is produced due to this arcing effect. The contacts are placed in a closed chamber containing some insulating medium, liquid or gas which extinguish the arc. Now here in the figure below, it is shown two figure rather. One is no fault condition. So the fixed contact and the moving contact show in a closed position and the circuit is closed. Whenever fault occur, the moving contacts move away from the fixed contact creating a separation or creating an insulation gap between the two contacts, but this insulation is achieved after some time that when the arc is extinguished between these two contacts. By the time these two contacts move away, it is this space is occupied by an arc, and the current continue to flow in the arc. And then, of course, we have some artificial mean or natural means to extinguish that arc. And then, when arc is completely extinguished, then of course we have a separation in the circuit, or the circuit is open. Now, gentlemen, this block diagram shows how this happens: sensing element, uh, comparing element. Just these are the function of the relays. We have already covered these topics: the relay, sensing elements. Maybe you are comparing element, maybe differential. And then, of course, we have the controlled circuit in which control the action of the circuit breaker. Now, below figure shows this is, of course, the CT, which actually convert a very high current into a low current. And let's say it will be a simple overcurrent relay. And this is, of course, the relay operating coil. And when a certain amount of current flows, and this, so the electromagnetic force attract that particular switch, which of course short circuit these two terminals of the battery circuit. And when it is pulled down under normal condition, it is in the open position. So there is no energization of this strip coil. That strip coil is not energized unless and until this switch is closed, or this is actually the contact of the relay. So under the action of these electromagnetic force, it is pulled down, and this battery circuit is of course completed, and this strip circuit is of course energized, and it has a lot of electromagnetic force applied, and it pull the plunger of this circuit breaker to open the circuit. So this is just an figure shows to make you understand how this total action is completed, how this total action of the opening of the circuit breaker is completed. Very simple. The first information which we get is from the CT, that is the output of the CT, which actually portray the actual amount or actual magnitude of the current flowing in the circuit, maybe in the normal position or maybe during the fault condition. The normal current is below a certain level, which cannot energize this electromagnetic relay operating coil to pull that particular switch downward. But when the current increases beyond a certain level, then of course this electromagnetic pull is enough to close the battery contacts. Okay, now see here we have a fixed contact and we have a moving contact, and when these two contacts are going away from each other or reported, then of course an arc is produced. This is just a figure which shows the arc between the two contacts. Now, gentlemen, we have some arc voltage because it is a flow of current, basically. So the figure shows the wave shape. The figure comes coming down, so you will see that figure. The figure shows the wave shape. This is the figure, actually arc. This is the figure which shows that we have this, of course, the sinusoidal wave is actually the normal current wave, the normal current, and of course the zigzag is of course the arc voltage. Mm. This is the short circuit current, that is the sinusoidal is the short circuit current, and of course the square type of wave we have, and zigzag, that is of course the arc voltage. The arc voltage. Okay, ji. The figure shows the wave shape of arc voltage. The voltage drops across the arc is called arc voltage. As the arc path is Pauli resistive, the arc voltage is in phase with the current. Naturally, if it is resistive path, so it will be in phase with the current. Okay. Okay. Now see here again the same figure. You see here we have fixed contact and we have moving contact, and when the moving contacts move away from the fixed contact, this is of course arc. This is arc is produced, and of course the current continue to flow in this path unless and until it is extinguished. This figure has already been explained to you. You just go through this figure. If you any point, any so then we will clear that point in the interaction class inshallah next week. Arc voltage, the voltage drop across the arc is called arc voltage. Simple name is given as arc voltage, which is shown here. Okay, the magnitude of the arc voltage is very low, amounting to only a few percent of the rated voltage. A typical value maybe 3% of 2 or 3% of the rated voltage. This is the typical value of the arc voltage. Okay, because more or less it is being the current, so the voltage is almost very low. It is only 3%, 2 or 3% of the rated voltage. Now, gentlemen, this topic, that is the arc interruption or arc quenching, this is of course very very important because this provides the base how we achieve or how we interrupt the current or how we have to arrange the arc quenching effect. This is of course the basis for the design and construction of the circuit breakers. Gentlemen, the first phase of this is of course the theory of this. What are the theory behind the arc interruption, and then of course on the basis of this theory you will see that when we'll go to the actual construction of the circuit breaker, these theory are basically used in that construction. Now see here, there are two methods of arc interruption. Number one is high resistance interruption, and number two is current zero interruption. These are two theories, two methods which are normally used and normally utilized, and on the basis of them the circuit breaker are being designed and are being built. Okay. Number first, a high resistance interruption. Now in this method of arc interruption, the resistance is increased so as to reduce the current to a value insufficient to maintain the arc. Now, gentlemen, you see here to maintain the arc, a certain amount of current is required, right? So, if we increase the resistance between the two contacts, right? If we increase the resistance between the two contacts, the current will naturally be decreased because increasing resistance decreasing the current, simple Ohm law. So when the current decreases beyond a certain limit, it is unable to continue or to maintain that particular arc, so the arc will be extinguished. So, gentlemen, how we can increase the resistance between the two contacts? So there are different methods used. The arc resistance may be increased by cooling, because cooling also increases the resistance. Lengthening, if we have some method to lengthen the arc length, if you increase the arc length, naturally when the length is increased, the resistance will be increased. Constraining, constraining mean rukavat dalna, to constrain something, right? Constraining mean to just have some interruption between the arc, and it is being utilized. You will see when we go to the actual construction of the circuit breaker. All these methods are used. Constraining method is used, lengthening is used, cooling is used. All these methods are actually practically used in the design of the circuit breakers. And on the basis of these, we have to design different type of circuit breakers. And splitting the arc. Splitting means just also it is a method to split the arc by increasing this splitting also increasing the length of the arc. So these are the methods, and you know very well from the normal theory that whenever resistance increases, the current reduces, and resistance increases because of these effect constraining, splitting, cooling, lengthening. All these effects actually increase the resistance of the arc path. Okay, when current is interrupted, the energy associated with the magnetic field appear in the form of electrostatic field. Gentlemen, you might remember from the previous EMF theories that whenever current is flowing, all the energy is within the magnetic field. But when the current is dropped to zero and the voltage rises, so then we have no electromagnetic energy. The electromagnetic energy depends upon the flow of current. So all this energy is converted into electrostatic energy. Electrostatic energy depends upon the voltage. So two things. One is current. When the current is flowing, when the arc is there, we have magnetic field energy, or electromagnetic energy. And when, of course, the current is diminished, the voltage rises because we have two contact. And when the current comes to be zero, the voltage between these two contact, first contact and moving contact, will be the system voltage. So the current rises because when the contacts are close, the voltage across the two contacts are actually zero or very minor voltage, right? Even when they are separated and there is an arc, the voltage is only 2 or 3% of the rated voltage. But when the arc is totally extinguished, the voltage rises to the system voltage, and this, of course, represents the electrostatic energy of the system. So the magnetic field energy or electromagnetic energy is converted into electrostatic energy. So from this sentence, it's meaning like that, explained like this. Okay, a high voltage appears across the contact of the circuit breakers. Actually, it was explained in the previous that a high voltage appear and it is actually the system voltage, and in some cases it also increase the system voltage. It will be in the next lecture you will see the transient voltage is sometimes higher than the system voltage for a very short time, and then of course it is settled at the system voltage later on. So we have some transient condition which will be explained in the next lecture. You will see that. Okay, if this voltage is very high, this is very important point. If this voltage, I mean the transient voltage, is very high, you will see that transient spike is very high spike. If this voltage is very high and more than the striking capacity of the air gap, the arc will strike again. This is very important because the gap between the two contact has a certain dielectric strength, right? And if the voltage is of course more than the dielectric strength, then of course the arc will again be established or again will be started and again will strike again, because each insulation has a certain dielectric strength, right? And if the voltage increases beyond that dielectric strength, that particular insulation medium is of course becoming a conducting medium and the insulation breakdown occurs. You know, normally you might have studied in some subject insulations or dielectric strength, and of course the breaking of the dielectric strength with the voltage, because there is nothing in this word absolute insulation. Each insulation has a certain restriking, a certain dielectric strength, and it can be broken with the increase of voltage. For example, air. Air is a natural dielectric. Uh, and of course, what is the dielectric strength of air? I told you so many times in the class, I think it is 30 kilovolt, 30 kV per centimeter. Peak value, I am talking about peak value, not RMS value. Peak value, this 30 is peak value. Because to break a dielectric strength of 1 centimeter air, we require 30 kV. 30 kV. So much high insulated natural material provided by God. Otherwise, these high tension lines, there is no insulation between them and us, only the air is insulation. So this air provides us protection from the bare high voltage conductor. Otherwise, we'll all be electrocuted by that particular high voltage. So this is natural protection. Okay. If this method is not suitable for large current interruption. So, gentlemen, in this, if this voltage is very high and more than the striking voltage of the air, the arc will strike again. Therefore, this method is not suitable for large current interruption and applied for low AC DC circuit breaker. Now, gentlemen, this method, high resistance interruption, is basically used for, I think, circuit breaker up to only 11 kV. This is the old circuit breaker were designed on this basis. So they are not used, this type of method is not used for a high, you may say high voltage circuit breakers. Okay, current zero interruption. This method is applicable only in case of AC circuit breaker. In case of AC supply, the current passes through 0.100 times per second at a supply voltage of 50 Hertz. You see, in each AC cycle, in one cycle, the current is passes through two zeros, right? So it means that if we have 50 Hertz system, the current will be passing 100 times per second through 0 point. Gentlemen, a very strange phenomena you will observe that whenever the current is passing through zero, what is the current in the circuit? Right at zero time, zero current. You see, when the current is passing through a natural zero, it's called natural zero. Duty cycle, natural duty cycle of the sine wave. So when the current is passing just at the time when the current is passing through zero, the current is zero. It means there is no arc at that particular. So it means that per second we have 100 times, 100 occasion at which the current or the arc is zero. Now this feature of AC is utilized for arc interruption, right? The current is not interrupted. Very important point. The current is not interrupted at any point other than the zero current instant. Otherwise, a high transient voltage will occur across the contact gap. Gentlemen, this point I will explain when the board is available, be in the interaction class, because if you suppress a high current by any artificial mean, it means that di by dt will be very high. The current gradient will be very high. Di by dt will be very high. And the voltage appear across the inductive part of the circuit is equal to VL is equal to L di by dt. So if di by dt is very high, then of course a very high voltage may appear across all the insulating points. So sometimes this voltage is so high that it puncture or damage the insulation. So therefore the current is not interrupted at any point other than the zero current instant. So when the current is interrupted at this point, naturally there will be no rise of voltage, or there will be no gradient, or di by dt will be equal to 0. Okay. The current not allowed to rise again after zero current occur. There are two theories to explain the current interruption of the arc, the zero current interruption of the arc. Number one is recovery rate theory, Slepin theory, and number two is energy balance theory, Casey's theory. So I think we just stop here. We will continue these method, recovery rate theory and energy balance theory in the next class, inshallah. So you just go through this note point, all those points which are not clear to you, and if you inquire more, that will be, of course, answered in the interaction class next week, inshallah. Thank you very much.